So what if the world around you wasn't just a collection of things, but a community of beings? We're going to take a trip way, way back to the very dawn of human consciousness to try and get a handle on our first sacred ideas. A time when literally everything, from a river to a rock, was believed to be alive.
You know, we hear a quote like this today, and it sounds beautiful, right? Poetic, a really nice metaphor. But here's the thing. For our earliest ancestors, this wasn't a metaphor at all. It was a statement of fact. This was the literal truth that shaped every single part of their lives. It was their reality.
And that's really the big question we're diving into today. What did it actually feel like to live inside that reality, to really see the world that way? Well, to answer that, we have to start with the one powerful core belief that pretty much shaped their entire world.
And that belief? It all hangs on this one core idea, that the world itself was completely, and I mean utterly, alive.
Okay, so this worldview actually has a name. It's called animism, and it's this profound belief that everything, not just animals, but trees, mountains, rivers, even the wind, has a spiritual essence. Just stop and think about that for a second. In this world, nothing was inanimate. Everything had a presence, a will, a spirit. This way of seeing things completely changes the game, doesn't it? I mean, try to imagine it. A bison isn't just a source of food. It's a powerful spirit you have to respect. A river isn't just water. It's a living entity that can give life or take it away. A thunderstorm isn't just a weather pattern. It's the raw, untamed power of a sky spirit. Everything you see was personal.
So, okay, if you're living in a world that's just vibrating with all these spirits, the next obvious question is, how do you talk to them? How do you build a relationship with these powerful, unseen forces all around you?
And that was the central challenge, right? It wasn't enough to just believe these spirits were out there. Your very survival depended on figuring out how to navigate your relationship with them. They had to, somehow, build a bridge between their world and the world of the spirits.
The logic here is actually pretty simple, but it's so powerful. First, you start with the recognition that the world is alive with spirits. Then comes that deep human need to connect, to understand, and it's from that need that you start to forge the tools to build the bridge.
And these were the tools they used. You know, sacred stories weren't just entertainment for them. They were basically instruction manuals for how the world worked, passing down crucial knowledge. Communal rituals were how the entire tribe would get in sync with the spirit world, doing ceremonies to ask for a good hunt or a good harvest. And then you had the shamans. They were the specialists, the spiritual guides who could actually travel into the spirit world to find healing or wisdom for the whole community.
But all of this, the belief in spirits, the stories, the rituals, it all points to a much deeper human need. It's all trying to answer that one single ultimate question: why?
Yeah, when you boil it all down, this was the beginning of our quest for meaning. Long before science, before written philosophy, this kind of spirituality was the framework our ancestors used to make sense of a world that must have seemed chaotic, terrifying, and just profoundly mysterious.
And think about what they were grappling with, the biggest mysteries of all. Where does life come from? What happens when we die? Why does the sun rise every morning? For them, these weren't just abstract ideas. These were the fundamental questions of their existence, of their survival.
So when you put it all together, you realize something pretty incredible. This wasn't just simple superstition. This was humanity's first grand, collective attempt to find its place in the cosmos, to really understand what it means to be here.
And that brings us right back to where we started. Now, when we look at this quote, it carries so much more weight, doesn't it? It's not just a nice saying about nature, it's a summary of an entire worldview, one that's built on kinship, on connection, and on the belief that we are part of a living, breathing universe that is, quite literally, our family.
So think about that. Our species' oldest, most foundational story is one of profound connection to everything, which kind of leads to a final, pretty big question. What story do we tell ourselves about our place in the world today? And maybe more importantly, what have we forgotten from where we began?